Hey, just Mark here. All right, so tonight I wanted to talk about being a people pleaser. Over the history of my life, have totally been a people pleaser all the time. And that is not necessarily a good thing because when you're a people pleaser, you tend to compromise what you want and what you need to please other people, or put others ahead of yourself. So I've been thinking about like certain things that that I'm working on going forward, and some advice that I can give that I've learned, especially in the last year and a bit, because I definitely am not doing the whole people pleasing thing remotely as much as I was before, because I've learned that my needs are important as well, and I have successfully, put in a lot of work here. So one of the things that I've done, and most people do, is we always say more than is necessary. So sometimes I find myself, whether it's talking to my boss or talking to friends, I continue to ramble on about the subject. And unfortunately, in some instances, that leads to there being too much information being given. And in the case of work, for example, whether you're trying to justify something or you're trying to, or whether you're trying to make a point, and at the end, what you end up doing is you end up giving out more information than that person needed, and that could be used against you. I've had that happen numerous times in my life, in part because I want to be honest with individuals and I want to share my opinion, but in many cases, it has backfired. So don't give out more information than necessary in any situation. Get to the point, get it out there, and leave it alone, because sometimes less information is actually more. I am the kind of person who wears my heart on my sleeve, so I also get caught every so often allowing my emotions to overpower my brain. And so I'll make decisions based off emotion rather than my intellect. Or I will allow my emotions to take over in a situation, which can make it worse. I've worked very hard to start thinking with my brain more than my heart and make decisions in that manner and not let my emotions take over. Sometimes, working in customer service, someone will push that button just enough and I look at it and go, I get a little bit angry, I'll get upset, my tone will change. I'll never yell at a customer, but my tone can definitely change sometimes. But even in some situations that I'm dealing with people in general, my whole tone and my attitude will change, or even I'll let my emotions take over when it comes to making general life decisions. I sometimes like to act fast. I very rarely make impulse buys, but sometimes my emotions will take over and I'll get excited for something. Then I'll buy it, or then I'll act upon it, and then later on, maybe later that day or the next day, I will immediately regret, the decision I made in that moment. Another way that I've helped to not be as much of a people pleaser is I've lowered some of my expectations in other people. So I know when I was younger, there are people that I admired and put kind of like up on a pedestal and had high expectations for who they were. And later on found out they're really not much different than me. So I can set high expectations for myself, but when I'm setting too many expectations on other people and expect them to do what I'm doing or to cater to me when I've catered to them, or let's just say I've done 10 favors for them and they do nothing in return, I've lowered those expectations because I'm just going to go into my relationships with people, let's try that again, with just letting them be who they are. Because when you put too much emphasis on those people and you put too much expectation on them, you will end up disappointed. And maybe they won't live up to what you thought. I know that I'm sure my, people I've known have put expectations on me, and I've definitely disappointed because for the longest time I was kind of wishy-washy on a lot of things, very indecisive, and always changing my mind, right? I guess that kind of goes with the whole indecisiveness thing, right? So, in work and in business, I used to try to tell, hey, here's what I did really good today. Or even in talking to people that I know, especially in relationships, where I'll say, oh yeah, let's just say, for simple example, hey, I got the dishes done, I cleaned the house, I swept up the floor, got the dog hair done, and that kind of like, I was not bragging, but I was talking about it. So rather than talk about the things I've done well or my successes, now it's good to share some successes with people who will share in your joy. But I'm working towards letting my actions speak louder than any words that I can. Heck, I'm doing a YouTube channel, and I'm acting and being consistent and making those happen. So some people who thought I was nuts to try this, back 4 or 5 years ago when I was talking about it, even a couple years ago when I thought I would do one on like smoking and grilling meat, because I have a smoker and I love it, so I am going to let my success speak for itself, which also means I need to start doing better at my own job, my from 9 to 5, to start acting upon what I want to do versus just saying, hey boss, here's what I did great this week. Now, when it comes to people pleasing, sometimes people will take advantage of you, and you will find that eventually some of those people are going to resent you a little bit or hate on you a bit, or, let's use YouTube as an example. I haven't had any negative comments yet, but I know they're going to come. So think of your haters or the people who envy you for being who you are. Maybe some people hate your people pleaser. Maybe some people hate that you're always outgoing and fun and can connect with people easily. Your haters are really your fans because they are paying attention to you. They are, whether it's commenting on stuff or trying to intervene or talking about you, your haters are your fans. Think about that a little bit. For any YouTuber out there, I've seen some YouTubers engage with their haters, and again, creates engagement, creates experience. So those are something that is something definitely to acknowledge, because some people see haters and they're like, oh, go away, leave me alone. Heck, think of Taylor Swift. She's got so many haters, but yet she's got a bazillion fans. But those haters also help push her business and her career and her ability to get out on stage. She doesn't care about the haters. She lets them be her fans. One of the hardest things as a people pleaser is learning to say no. Man, I can definitely can't count on two hands how many times I have just given in and done stuff for people when I wanted to say no or not do anything at all. And, offering to help people move when I didn't really want to, or going out of my way to take off a night that I was going to have off to go out and do something, or just agreeing to things that I didn't agree to. And part of that is because it's hard to say no. We don't want to reject people. We don't want the negativity that might come with it. We don't want people to hate on us, so to speak. And a lot of us don't like conflict. So saying yes sometimes is way easier than saying no. And so saying no, I think, is very, very important. And it can create a sense of freedom for yourself, because I've gained so much freedom in the last year and a bit by saying no, or saying I can't go out, or I can't do certain things, because there are nights when I make a plan and I'm like, oh, I just wanted to stay in and hang out with my dog or watch a movie or work on stuff side projects. I put off so many side projects by not saying no, because I was helping other people with stuff that they're going to do. When it comes to people pleasing, if you think about things you talk about with the people around you or the things that you do for other people, and you ask for, I see a lot of people saying, hey, what should I post about on YouTube? There's so many videos and so many things in some of my community things that I see where the creator is saying, hey, what would you like to see more of? And that's a good question, but 10 different people, 10 different opinions. Everybody's going to have something that they think you should do or think you should say. Or maybe you ask about a shirt you want to buy. Well, 10 different opinions. Someone might say, dude, that rocks on you. Others might say, yeah, don't get it. It shows your tummy too much, or the color doesn't match, or whatever. So stop asking a ton of people, opinions on certain things, because you're going to get 10 different options, and none of them may be what you're actually thinking in your head. I think That's important because that shows that for myself that I was very indecisive, and I sought validation in other people's opinions on what I should be doing, what I should be wearing, where I should be going, maybe what I should be buying, what I should be eating. There's times to seek advice, but other times to just do it yourself and don't ask so many people about it. Don't aspire to be perfect. And when I say that, I think about how many times I've wanted to do something, but I never got started because it wasn't the right moment. I didn't have the right ideas. I didn't have the right equipment. I didn't have the right voice. I didn't have certain things. I always thought that getting on YouTube, I had to have my shit together. And the reality of it is, I'm doing this on a wing and a prayer. Maybe I'll get monetized. Maybe I won't. But I'm not aspiring to be perfect right now. I'm aspiring to grow. And you're never going to be perfect. As long as you're growing and you're challenging yourself, you are actually doing something important for your life. And that's something you have to consider. And the last thing I'd like to talk about is knowing your own truth and being okay with other people not believing you. I know my reality day in and day out. I know what I've fought. I know what good things have happened. And there are things that I've talked about with friends and family and people around me where they didn't believe what I was saying, but it was my truth. And I think sometimes that was hard for me because I wanted people to believe what I was saying especially when you're telling the truth. Instead people might believe stuff other people say about you, and rather than believing what you're thinking. And that's been a tough goal. Think about when someone is angry with you or upset with you. They're going to tell a story and spin it so that you look bad or you look like you're the one who made the mistake. And you're trying to tell a story that's the actual truth, and people are like, oh, but that's not what so-and-so said, or they've already formed an opinion and they're just not going to believe you no matter what. For me, I definitely have learned sometimes just not to say anything. Let my own personal actions speak louder than any story, any words, and anything. I could list a few situations in the last year and a half where I didn't say anything to anybody, and it paid off. Oh man, see me in the camera stuff? I look a little chubby here. Anyways, but let your truth be your truth, and know that people aren't going to believe you sometimes, and be okay with that. It's some things as a people pleaser that are very hard because, again, it comes back to validation and acceptance and wanting people to acknowledge and encourage you. I think a counselor years ago said, the one thing that he felt I struggled with is I wanted too much acknowledgement from other people. And that was a very good thing to say because it was so truthful. I wanted people to acknowledge me. I wanted people to encourage me. But at the end of the day, not everybody's going to. Not everybody's going to be your biggest fan. And people will fake it around you and make you think that they're your friend or they want to hang out with you or things in that manner. So, I don't know, just some thoughts to ponder tonight on being a people pleaser. I hope this helped a little bit. I know it's helped me. As I said, I'm trying to do this YouTube channel, sharing things that I've learned and lessons I've learned in my 40 plus years of life. And if it helps even one person, then I've done my job. Anyways, that's it for tonight. Cheers, and I'll see you on the next one.